Responsibility and developer is kind of like a very hard nut to actually always kind of bring together. It is always broken as two different pieces of nut. Instance and the 24x large instance were actually placed one above the other. Like those two were actually placed in an order. The chargeback properly. I didn't set up the governance guidelines properly. I didn't set up the guideline like only feeder instances can be spawned up in DocumentDB. 24x large, if it is getting spawned, I should get a notification and I have to kill it immediately.
Hello everyone, welcome to CloudFin, a podcast series by ManageEngine CloudSpend, where we ensure that you take correct financial decisions on your cloud. Today we have Anant from ManageEngine leadership team. Hello Anant, a quick intro about yourself.
Hi Ramji, so I'm Anant. I take care of a couple of solutions in ManageEngine. The first solution is more concentrated towards cloud operations, and the second solution is a lot more focused on FinOps. So, been here for the last 15 odd years and have tackled multiple problems and scaled multiple solutions. And currently, I'm more interested to crack the financial burden of organizations.
Yeah. Talking about financial burden, of course, many enterprise customers will be hearing this. Let's get started with the biggest question. Why is cloud bills or cloud cost so complex?
It's a simple question that is actually going to have maybe like a masterclass itself, to be very precise. So, the on-prem world or as the colocation world had it all kind of maybe like it all got set up in a very traditional fashion, so that it was all very organized over the last 2 or 3 decades. Maybe it took 2 to 3 decades for them to get organized and plan better. But when it comes to cloud, the adoption was a lot more rapid, and the services what the cloud solutions were able to offer made the customers to actually adopt it a lot more aggressively. So what happened was like this kind of became like adoption of one cloud to 2 clouds to 3 cloud, and each and every cloud started mastering in one arena. So to be very precise, there could be a one cloud that actually provides a lot more in AI, one cloud which is kind of giving a lot more stability with respect to distribution. Like this, a lot of vendors started actually concentrating on one piece of the jargon in case of the SaaS-based solution market. And at the end of the day, what happened was like everyone wanted to actually get the bigger pie of whatever the market has to offer. So this made every organization to go and adopt cloud so that they can actually do a lot more things in a more aggressive and a faster manner. And this actually had a lot of wings attached to it as well. So one of the biggest problems in this particular adoption cycle was kind of like the planning part. That's where the FinOps comes into this particular vertical.
Anant, that was really insightful, I would say, because you said something very interesting that enterprises or businesses have adopted the cloud very aggressively. So is this a problem of too soon, too much? And people are kind of suffering of cloud wastage and increasing cloud bills. So how do you plan to solve it, or what is your take on it?
Okay, that's a good question. So in reality, if you have a check on how the adoption of cloud is done by organizations, it is all like they have a problem statement and they want to actually find a solution. And it's the old classic way. There are no two ways of looking at this. And what happened was like what is the right way is one way of doing things in the traditional approach. But in case of the current economy and in case of like current adoption, what can actually solve the problem in a more rapid manner, in a more reliable manner, where they can actually kind of move the operations from in-house to an automated ecosystem like a cloud. So the cloud gives them the advantage of taking care of the operations, where everything is kind of automated via scripts, and they take care of giving it in a console so that you can just go and click and make any configurations and manage it easily. And this kind of gave them an advantage in OPEX. Operational expenditures actually came down. But at the end of the day, this resulted in a little bit of a CapEx. So that is due to the fact that a lot of things got launched off the shelf in a new manner. Like auto scaling is one of the use cases where people were not ready for it on how to configure it and how to use it appropriately. Because you may feel that a 70% CPU utilization is kind of overutilization for you, and you may actually go for auto scaling. But in reality, your systems can still wait till 90% and then a node can get added. So finding out the exact value where you got to actually scale up seems to be a problem in case of CloudOps. Where in case of FinOps, if you actually consider this problem, more than 70%, if you're going to have a CPU utilization, if you are going to keep adding missions and taking out missions when it is actually going to scale down, you are going to actually pay a cost for starting up the resource, and you're going to pay a resource cost for actually shutting it down as well. So frequent spawning and frequent sprawl of these kinds of resources getting spawned on a random basis results in a lot more expenditure to the customer. So that's where the capex part comes with the cloud spend part, and that's where the wastage of resources also comes in. So this is one part of problem that cloud introduces. The other part is like provision and just leave it as such. So in case of on-prem world, in case of co-location world, a lot of resources tends to get over provision, but the licensing used to get purchased in a perpetual manner, like for an year or else for 3 years or something like that. But in case of cloud, there is an option for you to purchase via reservation and savings plan, but a lot of people do not actually get it right. So they end up provisioning more resources, thinking that they are expected to get a lot of load, but most of the scenario, it doesn't happen that way. To give you a small example in this scenario, if you're launching of a new service, there is no need for you to provision 2 to 3 servers. You can still run just with one server, but we start with 2 to 3 servers on the cloud and keep running it all through the day.
Is it like a safer bet businesses want to take that? So I would like to start with 2-3 instances, and I would like to go. Is it like a safer bet? Is what is my question, and what about the scalability of the such 2-3 instances, and what is the cost implication of it doing?
Okay, so I'll just answer about the safer bet part. So the safer bet part, when you're actually taking the cloud ecosystem, you are actually given the auto scaling option off the shelf.
Yeah.
There is no necessity for you to actually provision 2 to 3 servers. You can just start with one server and you can just scale it based on the demand. But in most of the scenarios, the traditional culture that comes from the co-location data center world, they just actually match the architecture that is available in the co-location data center to the cloud ecosystem. At the end of the day, what they do miss on this part is like getting a deeper insight into how to operate on cloud. That is something they actually miss out. It is not voluntarily happening like on their side, but the reality is like too much of a safe play is actually happening in that part rather than going for an automation, which is again still safe. To think of this particular scenario, just see a particular scheduler that is always running from 9 to 6. You can shut it down after 6 o'clock because that scheduler is not going to run anyway. But you keep maintaining that instance from 12 to 12 for every day, you tend to add up another 12 hours of cost. So on-demand costs, or else the cost that you are going to end up paying for each and every hour is anyway going to be higher, be it reservation or else on demand. So even if you are purchasing reservations, you end up paying 12 hours of cost on the reservation part. So planning is very essential. And for planning, you need a FinOps solution like CloudSpend. In case of managing, that's what we give you, the visibility on how your resources are getting used and how they are getting charged across the day, so that you'll be able to get a deeper insight into how you're spending on your reservations and savings plan on a particular resource and how they are getting distributed across the month as well as across the day. So that's the reason visibility is very, very important when it comes to cloud spending.
So Anant, you spoke about CloudSpend. Okay, I want to know the story of CloudSpend, how you started building it, and I'm sure it would be in the very early stages. You would have seen this as a challenge because last 5 years have been the boom for cloud cost market. And when did you start building, and what was the motivation behind that product?
Okay, so it's a very long story to be very precise. I'll try to actually present it as short as possible. The adoption of data centers in case of Zoho has never been on the cloud in the earlier days. So to be very precise, when we started off with our first SaaS based solution, we launched in a couple of data centers in US, and we managed our own third-party data centers. And we launched CRM, mail, and a lot of other solutions by getting started on that particular aspect. Before that, ManageEngine had its own on-prem solutions, which were used for managing small parts of the data center. To be give you a precise answer, like network monitoring was one of our earliest releases via WebNMS, and using that, we kind of actually got in a lot of customers from the enterprise like Fortune 500 world, where we kind of monitor the routers, switches, and all those things. And from there, we transitioned into a SaaS-based ecosystem. So what we kind of realized is like managing data centers were getting a lot more difficult. So due to kind of managing, like you have to manage each and every switch, router, infrastructure, and as you scale with more and more servers, it was kind of actually like we wanted more and more tools to manage our ecosystem. So that gave birth to a lot of tools in case of ManageEngine. So ManageEngine is a huge ecosystem which kind of actually provides you tools for ITOM, IT operations management, and IT service management, like via Service Desk Plus, where we use the Service Desk Plus internally inside Zoho for managing all the service related requests. Like here, when you want to create a request for an asset, it goes via the Service Desk Plus. So like this, we created multiple solutions to cater the in-house problems. But as we scale more and more across with multiple products, we wanted to actually kind of increase our data center coverage. Those actually had multiple guidelines attached to it. So one is kind of like we had to comply with a lot of regulations, and we had to stay local for certain regions, and we had to give a better reach out to customers when it like say if you are actually accessing a particular Zoho app from Europe, we were able to serve them better and faster by actually having a data center in the European region. Similarly, we wanted presence across multiple regions, but it became harder and harder for us to actually keep serving requests from customers by staying near to them, because we were not able to spawn up data centers in a blink of an eye. It requires you to actually have a global presence to stay nearer to your customers to give faster access to a lot of things. So these kinds of problem statement made us actually adopt cloud providers on the go. So to give you an example, like Zoho Meeting is one of the services from Zoho, which kind of uses some of the AWS services to have the turn and stun setups to be actually communicating. Like in case of Zoho Meeting, you need to actually kind of continuously transmit bytes in between two different consumers so that you can actually have the meeting organized in a continuous manner. So, in order to actually set this up in an auto scale manner, traditional data centers we had to over provision. So that's where we went into AWS to actually kind of provision some of our setups over there where we auto scale resources. But once we started using AWS for actually providing the service for Zoho Meeting, we found out that we are actually spawning up a lot of resources, and we were not actually having a lot more control on those things. So that gave birth to a thought process that okay, we were doing cloud operations better, like we were managing those resources, but we were not actually kind of doing financial management on those resources. So this gave us a thought process that okay, this is not a problem with Zoho, it could be a problem across the globe, because when we actually were having a problem, when we adopted one cloud for each and every problem statement, just consider about other folks who are actually going in the hybrid cloud ecosystem manner. They are expected to have a lot more problems, and we started digging into all those problems, and we found out that there are certain solutions in the market, but they are actually kind of more, maybe like more concentrated towards the CFOs, the chief financial officers, but there were very less adoption of products which was actually having a CIO focus. So we wanted to actually give a solution that can actually address the problems of a chief information officer, who can actually have a better playbook to actually plan the deployment or adoption of clouds. So with that thought process, we came up with CloudSpend, which is kind of more resource management oriented FinOps product, which can actually give a lot more information to the CIOs and the DevOps segment. So we were very clear in our thought process that we are not going towards just reporting alone, because just reporting will just be like a dashboard that can be presented in a meeting, but we wanted to give value. So that's where we kind of focused our attention towards, and that's where we are also building CloudSpend towards.
Yeah, that was A great story of a product. I haven't heard from many about talking about so passionately about product. So, you when you started the idea of CloudSpend, uh, were you um, were you like hesitant of this market, or like because there are market, as you said, there are a lot of marketplace, right? Even AWS has its own native billing tool. So why should one not choose native billing tools and choose a third party? Because I've seen a lot of people being very reluctant about buying a third party, integrating the account. It is quite a process and takes through a lot of business decisions. So, what is your take on that?
Interesting question. So we have heard this from a lot of customers as well. So there are native providers. AWS has a Cost Explorer, and Azure has acquired some third party vendors to actually build some solution. And GCP has maybe like a data set based, like a big table based kind of BigQuery based implementation. But if you consider a multi cloud ecosystem of an enterprise, so they will not be able to actually address the challenges of every aspect of their operational problem. To give you in a better clarified manner, if you consider a customer of ManageEngine who is actually using SDP, Service Desk Plus, or Site 24/7, and they are managing their cloud operations, they are actually closely aligned towards the product knowledge or operating principles of Site 24/7 or else SDP. So those customers will be a lot more hands-on in adopting CloudSpend because it is kind of closely integrated with these products, and this is kind of more closely aligned towards ITOM and ITSM. So when it comes to business value, the ease of adoption is one principle that we actually thought through. Okay, we have customers who are actually on cloud operations, on IT operations. How easy it'll be for those folks to adopt another solution from our side, which is also going to come into the financial operations. So it is kind of like seamlessly integrated so that you'll be able to actually get the best of all the three worlds. And the other aspect that we thought through was like we are our first customers most of the cases. Like in case of Zoho, it is a Site 24/7 and SDP. So we needed a solution that can integrate closely with these two solutions and give our internal handholders a lot more control.
How many teams are across in Zoho are using CloudSpend?
For now, the entire Zoho's billing, who are like, we have our own sysadmin, the director of IT operations, he uses CloudSpend on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
We have set it up at the org level for the multi-cloud, and a particular chargeback is given by a community. We have something called as a hyperscaler community, where the chargebacks are given back to our own internal stakeholders, and they are given directions on whether they are overspending, or else if they are exceeding a particular budget, they are given a heads up. That's why we kind of give a feature called as anomaly detection, where they kind of if they overspend on something, we detect it automatically using our own in-house artificial intelligence machine learning algorithms. So it's all in-house. To be very precise, CloudSpend is completely built ground up from ManageEngine internally. It was not acquired. So since we built it ground up, we were able to integrate it across the ecosystem, and we strongly believe in an ecosystem play rather than a single product play when it comes to our GTM strategy.
Great to know that, Anant. I'll move on from here. I'll talk about AI. If you're not talking about AI, it will be a crime to do a podcast in these days. So let's talk about AI. Any business uh, trying to buy something currently at the market, they want some AI touch or like AI related, some agentic performance, or like something from the AI front, right? So how do you see that? And do you have any? What are the developments in AI side?
Okay, so AI. So everything is all about AI. So I think 2 to 3 days back, even Satya got to know that like he has to get value out of ChatGPT right now. So good that he has got this thought process right now. So, but the reality is like we need to measure our investments into AI. So we are very clear about it. So we don't want to actually kind of throw away money to actually kind of check out whether it will work out for us or not. So we want to be very clear about our convictions, whether it will work it, whether this thing is actually requiring an AI. So that is the first aspect that we always think through. That is the reason we have actually invested in forecasting and anomaly detection, which are like two important aspects when it comes to FinOps. Because in case of like forecasting, that gives you an understanding on how the financial planning can be done over the next 1 or 3 years for any customer. Because when they are spending something, when we have a historical data, we'll be able to focus it better. But one difficult aspect about forecasting and cloud spending is like there can be always a current recent adoption which can actually overshoot the budget, and that can actually still put your forecasting value to be a lot more higher. But we have solved it by giving the customer an option to configure it so that they can actually do it in a lot more configured manner. When it comes to anomaly, yes, a Black Friday sale spikes up your cost, and after that, everything goes down. So that's where we kind of actually take the trend and the seasonality and use our own in-house built machine learning algorithms to actually find out if there was an anomaly or not. And why anomaly? It is kind of like a superficial budget. So you can just think of it as like a superficial budget, where a budget is more of like a configured or a controlled ecosystem where you can actually give a proper governance on whatever the ecosystem that you're actually having. Like say you have a chargeback ecosystem, which you want to control via a budget. It is a lot more easier for you to do in a manual manner using budgets, but you cannot go and configure budgets for each and every vertical or else each and every business unit. So that's where we specialize in. We kind of auto create certain reports or solution ecosystems and apply anomaly on top of it. You actually give a lot more like a protective ecosystem to the customer so that they can actually understand that they are not using the cloud in the expected manner as per their business itself.
Okay.
So this is something that we concentrate on. The other aspects of AI, we are thinking about outlier, but we are still not convinced with outlier being the right use case. But anomaly is more of like an outlier, maybe like an overlap for outlier. So that's the reason we are thinking about. Other than that, AI adoption, maybe Copilot is something that we can think about. But Copilot for a cost data, it's going to be a lot more superficial because if you think about the cost data, which is kind of completely changing version by version. So if you take, say for example, you take an EC2 ecosystem that has around like almost 10,000 different variations. Like a CPU, you have 8 core, dual core, 4 core, and each and every CPU may actually have a different flavor, and each and every machine can have a different flavor of OS. So all these flavors are given a different variation to the cost. So that is kind of a little bit more complicated. And even if you're actually using Copilot, you may actually end up with a lot of information. Again, you got to actually go through that entire set of information to arrive at a decision. So that's where the difficulty of AI is there in this cloud cost management market right now. But I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot more enhancements that will come around in AI, and kind of we may adopt those things as we go about in this particular journey.
Yeah, 6 months back we were AI was a different topic, and some disruption happened. Maybe this market will also face some different disruptions, and I'm sure you are ready for it. So Anand, I want to ask